Good evening. I'm Jerry Yuki, founding dean of the University of South Carolina School of Medicine, Greenville. Welcome to the convocation ceremony for our class of 2018. As a matter of courtesy, we ask that you silence your cell phones and refrain from flash photography. Reverend John Harman will begin our ceremony with an invocation, and then Greenville Health System President Dr. Spence Taylor will provide our formal welcome. Those of you that are inclined, please stand for the invocation. John?
I invite you to bow with me for our invocation. Let us pray. Holy God, we invoke your presence this evening in confidence and with humility. We do so in confidence because your blessing of these graduates is obvious. Not because you have worked for them, or studied for them, or succeeded for them, but because you have blessed their efforts. You have provided them with the fundamental human resources to succeed. Perhaps it was endowing them with inherent ways of showing up in the world that led them to success. Perhaps it was surrounding them with a family member who encouraged them and helped them to learn to celebrate and love achievement. Or perhaps it was in providing them with one or more teachers or mentors who instilled in them a passion for science and medicine. Whatever it was, we honor and celebrate those blessings and these graduates. We ask that you would make them be excellent stewards of their many blessings in the years to come. In your holy name we pray, amen. Please be seated.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Spence Taylor, and I'm the president of the Greenville Health System. And it's just a great honor to be one of the first to welcome you to the 2018 class of 2018 Convocation. I'd like to especially welcome board members. I see my board chair, Margaret Jenkins, who's a faithful attendee of many of these events. And we have 3 boards, and I know that many of you are here. They're too numerous to name, including elected officials as well. I know the county council and the county delegation, as well as the city council was invited. And if you are here, we welcome you and are appreciative of your taking the time to be with us tonight. Let me be one of the first to congratulate everyone. I think there are 3 groups that I'd like to congratulate. First, the families, the spouses, the mothers, the fathers, the significant others, the people that supported this outstanding group of scholars sitting in the front row. Thank you and congratulations to you for all the time and effort you spent. Secondly, congratulate Dean Yuki and the faculty of the USC School of Medicine, Greenville. It has truly become one of the really great medical schools in the Southeast. Paul Catalano and I were laughing before, or talking before, as the students were taking pictures, looked like prom night. And I remember when this medical school was an email between myself, Dr. Catalano, carbon copy Jerry Yuki, and look at what it is today. So congratulations to everyone of the faculty that have made this what it is. And then last, congratulations to the class of 2018. Job well done. Enjoy the night, enjoy tomorrow, and congratulations for all the hard work. Thank you very much. So welcome, enjoy the evening. Dr. Yuki.
So it's my privilege to introduce our platform party, and in it are a couple of special guests that I'll mention as we go along. To your left, in the front row, is Andrew Burr, the president of the class. Angela Sharkey, our senior associate dean for academic affairs. Jerry Harman is the commencement speaker for tomorrow in Columbia. If you were to meet him one-on-one, he would introduce himself to you as Jerry Harman, a country doc from Georgetown, South Carolina. He probably wouldn't mention to you the fact that he's chairman of the AMA and a retired major general from the Air Force. So he's certainly welcome, and he's been a joy to be with this afternoon. Next is Dr. Taylor, whom you met. And then next to Dr. Taylor is Bill Bates, a man some of you know, but not many. He has joined us from Tennessee, and know that he is Dean Emeritus of the Medical University of South Carolina, where following that he was recruited to the Greenville Health System, and is the individual that I would point to you as responsible for the modern academics in the Greenville Health System. He's the one that really started all of this in the early 90s. Then is my empty chair. Next is Dr. Catalana, who is our keynote speaker for this evening, and my associate dean for student affairs and admissions. April Buchanan, Dr. Buchanan, assistant dean for academic affairs. John Hartman, who gave her invocation, is GHS director of pastoral care and education. Beside him is Bob Best, my associate dean for faculty affairs. Then Dr. Rick Hodinka, the chairman of the biomedical sciences department. Dr. Scott Porter, our vice president for institutional equity. In the middle row, to your left, Dr. Chip Wiper, Vice President for Institutional Culture, Dr. Jesse Stafford, Chairman of Pathology, and our Eastern Region Medical Director, Clinical Leader, sorry. And then is Kristen Lacey, who is my Chief Business Officer, Tom Blackwell, our Assistant Dean for Longitudinal Curriculum, Dr. Tom Pace, who runs IPM, and is also our Division Chief of the Clinical Division of the Biomedical Sciences Department, Dr. Patrick Springhart, our VP for Institutional Innovation, Dr. Brenda Thames, GHS Health Science Center Provost, Dr. Scott Sasser, who is our Western Region Chief Clinical Leader, Sean Dogan, our GHA board member and also a member of the Joint Board Liaison Committee that oversees the medical school, Peter Tilkmeyer, Chairman of Medicine, Bill Schmidt, Vice President for Institutional Development, Jim Ellis, our Vice President for Clinical Affairs. In the back row is David Schammel, who is our Chair of Pathology, Dr. Robin LaCroix, Chairman of Pediatrics, Dr. Wendell James, Chairman of the Clinical Leader for the Central Region. I'll get that right in a second here. Saria Sacasio, the Chairman of Family Practice, Dr. Will Cobb, Chairman of Surgery, Dr. Matt Bittner, Chairman of Emergency Medicine, and Dr. Vito Cancellara, the Chairman of Anesthesia. A great group of individuals to work with and the future leaders of this organization. In closing, I would like to acknowledge the class of 2018. This is a special class that set the bar at a level that cannot be surpassed. A 100% residency match rate without the supplemental match safety net is as good as it can get. And now their class president, elected by them, Andrew Burr, will share a few of his thoughts with us. Andrew?
Thank you, Dr. Yuki. Dr. Yuki, faculty and staff, honored guests, family and friends, in the class of 2018, welcome. Success. You are here to celebrate a class that has had remarkable success. As Dr. Yuki just said, for the first time in school history, this class of diverse and competitive specialties has had a 100% match rate before the supplemental offer and acceptance program. If you have no idea what I just said, please just smile and nod. You might recognize me as the same person who spoke at the 2014 White Coat Address. If you don't, it's okay, because chances are I don't recognize you. But it's good to have you here today. At that time, I spoke to the three groups I think were represented here. I spoke to the faculty and staff, spoke to the family and friends, I spoke to the class of 2018, and I'd like to do the same today. I'd like to borrow that same format, except I'd like to speak about that topic, the topic of success. So first, I want to speak to the faculty and staff. This is my message about success, is that we owe a large portion of our success to you. And I want to thank you. The biomedical sciences and the clinical faculty, I want to talk to you for a second. Some of you did your job remarkably well. You came, you taught, you tested us, you stretched us, and you prepared us for what lies ahead. Some of you, however, went above and beyond even that. You went in and you checked on us, you encouraged us, you knocked on the door to see how we were doing, you prayed for us. And I want to thank you for that. I guarantee you that if you were to follow the class of 2018 far into the future, you would see the attributes and the personality of our class and our faculty and staff here on us. And if that doesn't scare you, I don't know what will. We're a new school. And the faculty and staff didn't lord the positions over us, but instead they got in the trenches with us. They listened to our feedback, and they made a school that we are proud to be a part of and that we're proud to graduate from. So thank you. I want to also thank the Office of Administration. The Office of Administration at our school has been phenomenal. They've given us candy, they've given us tissues, they've given us a ridiculous amount of free pizza lunches. But they've also been there to counsel us through our schedules and to counsel us through all the difficult parts of medical school. I honestly want to thank them. I believe our class has a special relationship with them, and I believe that's seen in the fact that our class chose Dr. Catalana, the Associate Dean of Student Affairs and Admissions, to speak today. And I want to thank the other faculty and staff not mentioned, the ones that met us in the hallways throughout our hospital rotations, who took us aside, who took us to their houses, who encouraged us, took us to breakfasts, and we're there every step of the way. To you, we are thankful. If you remember, 4 years ago, I gave you a couple things to leave, and let's see how you did. I said, first of all, don't let us leave until we're prepared. And we're graduating, so we sure fooled you. But I also said, don't stop encouraging. And like I said before, you haven't. And I said that if you did not stop encouraging, and that if you trained us for the next step, that you would be here and that you would be just as proud as the family and friends. And I honestly believe that some of the faculty and staff here are just as proud as the family and friends, and probably just as surprised. That brings me to the friends and family. I have two messages I want to talk to you about success. First of all, obviously, I'm going to thank you. But second, if it's all right with you, I'd also like to brag a little bit about our class to you guys, because let's face it, no one else will listen. First of all, I do want to say thank you. My past challenges to you in 2014, I said to remind us of who we truly are, our true self. And our class has developed so many different interest groups, charities, and such, and it's felt from your families who have trained us. We're thankful. I said also, if you could remind us to be humble. And you tried. But thank you for reminding us to be humble and where we came from. And then lastly, I told you to be proud of us. And we can sense the excitement here as you came from long distances to be proud with us. But if it's all right with you, I'd like to brag a little bit about the class of 2018, because, like I said, no one else finds this interesting, and I have a captive audience right now. Because let's face it, some here have never been to medical school, and you wonder what it's like. Others up here have been to medical school, but it was a long time ago, and they want to remember what it was like. And some of us here just went to medical school and have no idea what happened. Let's start here with undergrad and the journey that gets into medical school. First, with few exceptions, most of us go into majors that require a lot of biology, chemistry, physics, or mathematics. They're some of the hardest courses offered on our campuses, and yet we're required to have near perfection, with the average matriculant GPA, I believe, being over a 3.7 to get into medical school. And on top of that, if that wasn't enough, we were also told that you also need to have a life in undergrad, to which we say, what is that? We don't know what that is. But we were told to be well-rounded. And so we involved ourselves in everything that we could think to do. We got involved with fine arts, we got involved with research programs, we shadowed every opportunity that we could do so that we could be a well-rounded individual. And then we were given the opportunity to take the MCAT. And the MCAT was, for me at least, a 4-hour and 25-minute test that represented all of undergrad, and we were supposed to compete against all the other students who did well in undergrad, and we had to get, I believe, in the 70th to 80th percentile, just to be considered usually. And we took the MCAT. So while many of our friends had graduated college or were traveling the world or celebrating their 21st birthdays, we were in some basement studying the Krebs cycle or alpha decay or something else that we'll never use again. All for the goal of that next step, which is to apply to medical school. And so we applied to Greenville. And Greenville's a new school, right? It's not supposed to be that competitive. But here we are with our new school, where there was, I believe for our class, 3,300 applicants. From that 3,300, they interviewed 300. And from that 300, they chose around 75. If you do the math, that's about 2 to 3% of the people that applied got in, and that's about the national average. And here we are. We made it to medical school to get more work. Yay. I actually wanted to come up with some numbers that I could run by you to give you an idea of what medical school was like, and I actually asked about 4 or 5 of my friends, so it's been approved by about 4 or 5 doctors now, I guess. Came up with the number 150 hours. 150 hours is about how many hours we sat through a test straight. It's about 7 24-hour days, if that gives you anything. So from there, 150 hours, we said, how much did we study per hour of test? And basically 1 hour of test per about 2-3 weeks of class. It came out to be about 80 hours of study for 1 hour of tests. So if you do the math, which I did for you, that comes out to 11,920 hours, which is 496 whole 24-hour days of studying. This was in the first 3 years. There are 26,280 hours in the first 3 years. You subtract our studying and you get 14,360. Let's subtract 8,760, which is about the hours that we slept, probably, hopefully. And you get the remaining 5,600 hours. With those 5,600 hours, we were supposed to do crazy things like eat, exercise, call our mothers, have Christmas breaks, and oh yes, go to class and do our hospital rotations. And I say this partly to provide insight and humor, but I know a lot of the family and friends here already know this. Because, like the faculty and staff, you also have been in the trenches with us every step of the way. Being there, encouraging us, listening to us as we complain on the phone, but you've been there every step of the way, and we're thankful for you. And last, I have my message to the class of 2018. What do I want to talk to you about success? Well, first, I want to say this. Congratulations, we are 100% doctors. Now, some of you might say that, now, Andrew, technically, we're getting our diploma tomorrow. To you, I say, no one asked you, so. If you remember 4 years ago, I gave you, in my speech, I talked about not just waiting, that we should seize the day. And honestly, you guys have. You've seized every moment from day one and have changed this area. You've changed each other. You've changed your patients. Well done. Can I also say this? Thank you for letting me be your president. It has and will remain one of the greatest honors of my life. I can honestly say I've never felt more unqualified for any job. That is until I got my residency job. But thank you. As I was thinking of what final word I could give you, I started to reflect on what emotions I was going through right now. And as I was reflecting, I came up with this. I'm afraid. And I know that's not the most motivational thing to say, but I don't think I'm alone. Because I can say all of these fancy numbers and impress people, but in the end, I know I can't fool you guys. Why am I afraid? I'm afraid because up until this point, we talk about this theme of success. Success has been defined for us. Go to undergrad, pass your classes, be well-rounded, take the MCAT, get into medical school, pass step 1, pass step 2, pass your classes, and get into residency. Up until this point, if you do all these things, you will be successful. But here we are. And I'm scared of the fact that now I don't have a clear path to what success is. I get to define that. I'm scared because I know me, I know my weaknesses, I know my faults, and now we are the one who have to make the decision as what success is. So what do we do about that? What's helped me not be as afraid? I think for me what's helped is coming up with 3 simple goals of what I can accomplish. If I can accomplish these 3 things, then maybe I can count myself as a successful doctor. What are the 3 things? They're very, very simple, but here they are. Number 1, love your patients. Sounds very simple, but I'm starting to feel that it's a lot more profound than that. I remember one of my first shadowing experiences that I ever had. I spent the day with a resident who the whole day, he tried to talk me out of becoming into medicine. It was my freshman year of undergrad. He tried to talk me out of medicine the whole day. To be politically correct, I'm not going to say what specialty he was, but he was an orthopedic resident. I can say that because some of the nicest guys in our class are orthopedic residents, so they won't say anything back to me. So. But he spent the whole day trying to talk me out of it. And he kept on asking me why I wanted to go into medicine, why I wanted to go into medicine. I thought I was answering it pretty well. I had all these different answers, but finally I ran out of answers, and I had to say the most cliche one of all. I had to say, I want to go into medicine because I want to help people. And you could see the victory in his eyes as he said, go help people. You could help people by volunteering and giving lunches at the hospital. You could go to church and get involved in a ministry. You could go to another country and hand out water. You can help people so many other ways. Why this? And honestly, I don't have anything against this resident. And actually, I start to get what he was trying to say, and I start to get the main point that he was trying to make. It's this. Even though you're a doctor, you are loving patients does not mean it's going to come naturally. And that was a big realization for me as I went through medical school. Here I am, raised in a great home. I grew up going to church. I spent the last 8 years of my life studying how to help people. And I'm still not guaranteed that I will love my patients when I walk through the door. And that stood out to me. We have to learn how to love our patients. How can we do that? I think first, you can do it by being intentional and looking for an opportunity with every patient to show them that you love them. It's going to be different for every patient, and you're going to have to be aware, but that's a start. Second of all, it means we'll have to study. But what a great motivation that we're studying because we love our patients, not because we have some big next test that we have to be competitive with. It's because we love our patients. Number two, first, love your patients. Number two, love your coworkers. Love your coworkers when they are unlovely. Love your coworkers especially when they're unlovely. If we do that, we can change the environment of medicine because we are a family. We are all on the same team. How can we love our coworkers? First of all, it means you don't complain. I have to say that to myself again. It means you don't complain. Second, it means that you show the same mercy that has been shown you. And last, again, you have to look for intentional ways to loving your coworker. And number three, last, and equally as important to being pivotal in your success is this. Number three, the stair chair is my friend. That's an inside joke. Thank you, Dr. Blackwell. But number three is this. Number three, be loved. To be healthy and productive, one needs to be invested in as much as one is investing out. You're going to be investing a lot into others. Make sure you have that inlet where people are investing in you. It means keeping in contact with the family and friends who have come here today. It means, when possible, don't give up on your hobbies. And lastly, it also means finding a mentor who's going to love you enough to tell you when you screwed up. And honestly, I feel like if I can get to the end of residency and say that I loved my patients, that I loved my coworkers, and that I sought to be loved, I might be so bold to say that I'm beginning to be a successful doctor. Class of 2018, we have been successful. Now we are finally given the privilege to define what that means for us. Let the success of our past give us the confidence that we have what it takes to change this world. I know we can, and I know we will. Thank you. It's now my privilege to introduce our faculty speaker, Dr. Catalana.
Thank you, Andrew. Dr. Harman, it's a pleasure to have you here. Dr. Bill Bates, if I can be personal for a minute, 25 years ago, he pulled me aside and encouraged me to go into medical education. I wouldn't be here today if it were not for you. To the leadership, Drs. Yuki and Taylor and Sharkey, thank you for your leadership. To the colleagues behind me and the colleagues in front of me, especially the clinical faculty, the biomedical faculty, and I can't say enough about those who work alongside us in the Office of Student Affairs and the Office of Academic Affairs. All of us up here wouldn't have even known how to line up if it weren't for them. So the doctor stood outside the door, looked at the labs, looked up to my friend, and said, "Your labs look pretty good today. I don't think you're going to die." And he walked away. That was an answer to a question that I typically ask to applicants. And the question is this: tell me about a time that you saw a physician say something or do something that you will never, ever do yourself. And I thought, as he talked more about his friend who was trying to get through his first round of chemotherapy for leukemia, I quickly became pretty disgusted. I would sense that every one of us here, certainly physician, non-physician, cannot believe that something like that was said. So what's your reaction, students? What's my reaction? One of disbelief and the like. And you're confident that you're not going to fall into that, what I'll call, cynical trap. But although I don't think you will, I think I need to remind myself, first and foremost, as well as you, that when we're tired, when we're overworked, when we're stressed, and when we're overwhelmed, we're pretty vulnerable. So I would suggest this to start off with, please. Remaining keenly aware of the inherent risks of becoming detached and becoming cynical is the first step in helping to assure that you will remain true, students, to what you wrote in your white coat oath almost 4 years ago. These are your words, not mine. Quote, to remember that we treat an individual, and it is our responsibility to base our practice upon compassion and respect. Compassion and respect, your words. I want to add 2 other words to you for the next few minutes. And those 2 words are circle back. What I mean by that is this. As Andrew talked about, your journey has been pretty straightforward. You went to college, medical school. You'll soon be interns, then you'll be residents, and you'll be perhaps a fellow, perhaps an attending, a clinical instructor, an assistant professor, an associate professor, a full professor. And today is just one example of the many leaps forward that you will take on your journey over the next several decades. You said this in your white coat oath also, that you commit to lifelong learning. Again, a spectrum, all in the future. We commit, you said, to a lifelong process of learning, both as students and as educators. But not only is your path forward, but I want to suggest that you continue to circle back to your roots, which are best described in your white coat oath by the words compassion and respect. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking something like this. We were so naive back then. We had no idea what we were getting into, and you didn't. But I would like to say that you were indeed naive, but I want to follow that with this. Unlike the connotation that we so often relate to being naive, your so-called naive commitments in your white coat oath, summarized by the words compassion and respect, will keep you grounded during the pressures that all of you are going to experience that are associated with caring for patients and caring for their families. Secondly, you said this in your white coat oath, quote, to be kind to ourselves in times of difficulty, to be humble in times of success, to guard against cynicism, there is that word again, and to be grateful every day for the privilege of practicing medicine. Now, how can you remain humble? How can you guard against cynicism and remain grateful? What are you remaining grateful for? Remember that you're remaining grateful for the fact that patients are saying things to you that they will say to no one else, not even their loved ones. They're letting you do things to them, that they wouldn't think of letting anyone else to do. They are letting you enter their lives. And I think that will help to prevent against cynicism. But more than my words, I want you to listen to these words. I want you to circle back to your first year. It was during IPM. IPM, for those of you who are not students, is a course that students in their first and second years take that introduces them to clinical scenarios, to patients, and will often have patient panels come and talk to the students. A patient said this to you in your first year. These patients were cancer survivors, and some were still going through chemotherapy. And one woman stood up and said something that I will never forget, and I ask you never to forget. She said this: remember that in the next 5 minutes of your life, your words will change every remaining minute of my life. That's worth saying again. Remember, in the next 5 minutes of your life, your words will change every remaining minute of my life. So do it well. If you keep that comment in mind, I would suggest it's going to be a lot more difficult to fall into that cynical trap when you're tired and worn down. Your words, how those words are delivered, and how you listen to the response that your words prompt from your patient will always make a difference. Whether it's telling a new mom that she has a beautiful new baby, or whether it's telling an elderly man and his family that he has a terminal illness. Why do I know that your patients will remember your words? Because I would venture to say that each of you remember certain words that were shared to you by your own physician or by a physician of one of your family members. We've talked a lot about listening. We've talked a lot about how important our words are. Why should we listen? Because there's a story. There's a story behind each and every patient that requires, no, it really demands your full and complete and unbiased attention. Perhaps that non-compliant patient just lost her job. Perhaps that undocumented immigrant who brought her child to the emergency department mortally ill was fearful to seek care because of her immigration status. Perhaps that irritable and uncooperative teenage 15-year-old girl is a victim of abuse or neglect. Or perhaps that diabetic patient that you just can't believe won't take her medicine is simply taking her medicine every other day so she has money enough to feed her kids. Take the time to learn your patient's story and then step back and listen. And their lives will open up to you in such a way. You said this, quote, from your white coat oath: "We remember that the patient's voice is of the utmost importance, and we must serve as their advocates," your words, "to be health educators, advocating for social and legal changes, as well as fostering open communication and lasting relationships." Thirdly, in spite of your efforts, you're going to fail. I remember missing a huge enlarged spleen on a child with sickle cell disease. My mistake, I'm sure, kept him in the hospital for at least a week longer than necessary because I just carelessly examined his abdomen. I remember coming this close to giving 10 times too much medicine because I messed up a decimal point. And if it weren't for a nurse, that child likely would have gotten too much medication. One of my failures was right here at Furman. I helped when the medical students and pediatric residents came out to Furman on their adolescent rotation. I helped to supervise them, and I oftentimes saw patients myself. I walked into a room, tried to be nice and said hello, and there was a young man there about 20 years old, and he looked at me and he shook his head. I said, "What's wrong?" He looked me straight in the eye and he said, "Dude, I'm here for premature hair loss. You are the wrong guy." I wanted to overdose him by 10 times, but I didn't do that. I think he's in law school now. He wanted to go to medical school, but no way. So what about these errors? How can we avoid errors? I want you to avoid errors by listening to the words of Jerome Gropeman. Dr. Gropeman wrote How Doctors Think, and he said this: how a doctor thinks can first be discerned by how he or she speaks and listens. There it is again, speaks and listens. Procedures and specialized technology are vital in caring for patients, but technology has also taken us away from the patient's story. And once you remove yourself from the patient's story, you're no longer a doctor. You're simply a technician, following an algorithm and checking boxes. He talks about us being led into a cognitive trap and increasing the risk of failure. I do this all the time, and it's wrong. So what does that mean? Chest pain must be a heart attack. Maybe it's a dissecting aneurysm. 18-year-old psychotic break must be schizophrenia. That's the cognitive trap, but maybe it's lupus cerebritis. Or the cognitive trap that I fell into many years ago. Saw a little 5-year-old boy who was wetting the bed. Every 5-year-old boy wets the bed, especially in our house. We had, oh gosh, it was, I shouldn't say that, but it was a wet time, it really was. So every 5-year-old wets the bed. I reassured the parents, but 2 weeks later, when he came back with an 8-pound weight loss, I realized that his bedwetting was really due to diabetes. And I totally forgot about that, didn't even consider it, because I fell into the cognitive trap, 5-year-old wetting the bed, no big deal, let's reassure and move on to the next patient. So beware of the cognitive trap that is described in the book, How Doctors Think. And I want to add something to the cognitive trap and say this: beware of the routine. For nothing is routine for your patient. It may be your 5th gallbladder of the day, surgeons. It may be your 8th well child check of the morning, pediatricians. It may be your 7th lymph node biopsy of the day, pathologists. Or it may be your 4th C-section of the day, obstetricians and gynecologists. Is it that patient's 5th gallbladder of the day, or does she have a family waiting anxiously? Looking at that lymph node biopsy, there's a family behind that, probably pacing the waiting room, waiting for the physician to come out. So remember the story and don't fall into the routine. And remember to listen and not fall into the cognitive trap. So in closing, again, I want you to circle back. Along this linear journey, forward, 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 circle back, because you have a choice. You have a choice along this path, and it will continually move forward. And this, again, is a huge leap for each and every one of you today. What's that choice? It's to accept the career that you're entering as one that must always be patient-focused and patient-centered. And that is not naive, nor were any of those words that I shared with you today from your white coat oath that you yourself put together 4 years ago. Strive to keep yourselves well, and then strive to keep your patients well. Strive to work to return your patients to good health when they're ill. And most importantly, sit on their bed, hold their hand, look them in the eye when there's little else you can do, and say, I am with you. I am here for you. That's profound. They are allowing you to enter into their lives. Make sure you express your appreciation to them. So, may I ask each of you that the first and last time you ever hear the words, "Labs look good, don't think you're going to die today," is right here and right now. So congratulations to each and every one of you. We're going to say it again. You all matched. That's just awesome. And it's an extraordinary achievement. And it's an extraordinary achievement because of when you look at where these students have matched. It's just a testament to their hard work and their courageous efforts over the last 4 years. So I leave you with this: move forward, circle back, and remain naive. Thank you.
So students, would you please rise? And proceed to line, please. As we recognize the names of each of these students who are graduating, please save your applause to the end of the ceremony, or to the end of the last candidate, and we'll all celebrate together. I can't see. Yeah. Alyssa Allen Adkins. Laren Mackenzie Alexander. Carlin Miller Atwood. Bobby Baronello. Janet Marie Basinger. Leanne Alexis Black. Joseph Hayes Blackwell. Brian Ethan Brown. Andrew Richard Burr. Stefano Cardine. Kripesh Dave. Raquel Alicia Dennis. Phillips Ruth DeRitter. Hannah Shirley England. Catherine Ann Entrican. David Erazo. Brian John Fazone. Alicia Claire Firestone. Timothy Colin Fletcher. Megan Marie Fredwall. Jordan Christopher Gainey. Anne Marie Gerstner. Taylor Wapshot Girolamo. Kaylee Marie Goodman. Charles Michael Grenade. Carrie Scott Griffin. James Thomas Griscom III. Wes Hardgrove. Harry Eugene Hicklin IV. Cody Michael Hill. Charles Michael Hood. Stephen Earl Hudson. Eliza Marie Hulan. Callie Mary Catherine Huntsinger. Sven Kevin Ivankovich. Brian Edward Jones. Matthew Sterling Kerr. Hannah Corinne Klein. Brittany Dawn Lamont. Alexander James Lee. Andrew Cook Lee. William Raton Lytle. Jordan Lorenzo Malray. Whitney Evan Mayberry. Katrina Marie Morgan. Gabrielle Dejan Morris. Wesley Parker. Elvira Schroeder Payne. Riley Schuler Polk. Thomas Bennett Ramsey, Jr. Natalia Rincon Buendia. Julia Martina Robison. Gregory Nelson Roop. Richard Todd Rosier, Jr. Hannah Elizabeth Shull. Jasmine Elizabeth Smith. Noah Smith. Crystal Souza. Grace Elizabeth Spencer. Mark Daniel Spencer. Hope Erlene Sprunger. Clay Thomas Stafford. Bianca L. Stewart. Shane Megan Sundley. Andrew William Swartz. Nathan Lynn Teague. Lauren Ashley Tipton. Mary Catherine Van Wert. Casey Wang. Shannon Marie Wentworth. Jeremiah Wayne White. Jessica Ashley Janine Williams. Bailey Elizabeth Wooten. Slee La Yi. This is the graduating class of 2018. Please stand and congratulate them. What's next?
This is a really special class. Did anyone mention they had a 100% match rate? So I get to give closing remarks, and I'm going to make it brief. I have only 5 thank yous. Thanks to all of you for attending this 3rd USC School of Medicine Greenville Convocation. Thanks to the friends and supporters of USC School of Medicine Greenville for making all of this possible. Thanks to the families and friends of our students for raising such fine young men and women. Thanks to our faculty, staff, and administration for turning them into extraordinary young doctors. And thanks to the class of 2018 for your many contributions to USC School of Medicine Greenville. I'd now like to ask that the audience remain seated while the platform party and the students exit. Then please follow the students, enjoy the reception, and know that you are invited to commencement tomorrow at noon in the Kroger Center in Columbia. Thank you all for being here.